Little, some kind of a trophy you can put on your mantle.
I'll even donate a trophy.
Dude, I can zip through this thing in about 35 seconds if you want.
You're on.
Wait for Derek now.
Just in time. He has to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. He's the last
No,
one
he
in.
doesn't have to sit now.
And-
Good evening, residents of
God bless America.
I'm not sitting next to you anymore.
Renee.
Good evening, residents of Litchfield, and welcome to the January 20th, 2016 school board meeting. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So John York will not be joining us this evening. There's a prior engagement. Revisions to the agenda, Superintendent?
No, Mr. Board Chair.
Summary of non-public actions from January 6, 2016. Mrs. Quintana made a motion to approve the non-public minutes of December 16, 2015 as written. Mr. Barker second. Motion carried 4-0-0. Mrs. Barker made a motion to accept the nomination of Ryan Keller as CHS special education teacher at a prorated salary of $56,963 for the 2015-2016 school year. Mr. Lepore second. Motion carried 4-0-0. Any presentations, recognitions,
Not this evening, Mr. Chair.
and correspondence?
I don't believe we received any.
Please, so either. Bring us to the approval of draft minutes from 1/6/16.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Any further conversation? Not? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. That'll bring us to community forum. Superintendent comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to comment a little bit on the New Hampshire primary that'll be coming up. I've met with Officer Coral, and we've reviewed the facility once again as Nashua postponed school. It took, in essence, a snow day on that day, and we still believe that we should go forward with the primary. We've held it here in the past without any events. What we are going to do is, as you look at Conant High School, the parking lot to the left where the practice fields are, the opposite side of where the football field is, we will clear that area of all parking and make that area available to the voters to come in and park. And we'll add an additional 4 handicap parking spaces to the current 4 handicap parking spaces. And we will also move all the staff parking to the back of the building and in front of the building where the current visitors parking area is. We believe that by doing that, we can accommodate parking for staff and parking for students and parking for the voters as they come in and go. We will also have 3 police officers available, 2 that will be stationed at the CHS site, and 1 police officer will be available to us should we need it. And we will have an administrator assigned to that area. Our biggest concerns are early in the morning between 7 a.m. and 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. We believe we'll have a significant number of voters there. And then there'll be a steady number of voters through the day, and then we believe once the high school is cleared of students later on that afternoon, we'll get very busy again, but we don't believe that that will pose any issues. Our biggest concern is that we keep the gym isolated and that we allow voters to come in, use the bathrooms that are in the gymnasium, but we do not allow voters to go into the main part of the building. To that end, again, we will station staff and police officers, and we will have adequate signage so that people will clearly understand that. So we're going forward with the primary here at Campbell High School, and we believe that we have adequately planned and we have an adequate parking and facilities for everybody. So I just wanted to say that again publicly, just so the community understood that that was a plan that we are going forward with, and we certainly look forward to a very high turnout this year in the primary.
Thank you. Bring us reports. School board comments? None? Then we'll move on to the business administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did include, albeit late, and I apologize, a copy of the mid-year report, trying to give the board a summary, if you will, of the first 6 months of the fiscal year 2015, 2016. I won't go over it if there's any specific questions, or I would suggest, Mr. Chair, because of the late submission, and again, I apologize, that it be just referenced in your packet tonight, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions at the next board meeting.
Unless anyone has any questions at this time?
Just a real quick one.
Sure.
The long-term sub-salaries.
Yes.
That seems to be something that would be easier to, I guess, contemplate than the substitute, the regular substitute salaries, but it looks like it's overspent. Well, I shouldn't say overspent. It's a little higher than maybe
is.
planned.
It's actually somewhat the opposite of that. We go on, based on trends for daily substitute rate. It's the long-term substitutes that are really based each year on experience with staff going out on Family Medical Leave Act, typically long-term, more in greater duration than 3 days, medical reasons, family illness. So we have to hire a full-time, if you will, a temporary full-time person to cover that. So it's very difficult. Some year, in my 3 years here, first year we had hardly any. And then maternity would impact that as well. So it's hard to predict. We try to base it on trend, but it really isn't something that you can base on trend. We try, but we're not very successful some years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just curious.
Thank you, Frank. So if everyone does have an opportunity to take a look through it, and if you have any other questions for our next meeting.
Yep.
feel free. And do we have any transfers we need to approve right now, Frank?
There are, but those can wait as well.
Okay.
Those can wait till the next.
Okay. All right, that'll bring us on to the technology report.
We have a technology report that was submitted by Jason, and I'll just quickly read it into the record. And Jason and Andrea will both be here at our next meeting. We will be beyond the midtime of the year. We will have gone through the first semester at the high school, and we'll give Andrea a chance to update us on the developments with the various technological innovations that we have. The wireless improvements at LMS, in anticipation of the Smarter Balanced Assessment, 7 more access points have been added to LMS, and re-imaged the laptops with fresh operating system. And Jason also, the IT department also took access points out of the hallways and brought them into the classrooms, which will significantly help with signal loss in rooms while helping to improve overlap in dense wireless areas. We still have the old wireless there, and so this is a step in the right direction. And online testing experience, we're hopeful, will be much improved this year over previous years, but we still recognize the fact that we need to update new wireless technology when we can over the summer. GMS, again, wireless improvements for Smarter Balanced Assessment in the classrooms, main hallway of the school, and this again is focused at trying to make the test a little bit more favorable for the students. 5 more class access points were added, and some performance improvements on the wireless controller were added. So again, the old technology still is there, and so the improvements will definitely help us, but we're waiting to actually add some new technology to GMS so that we can actually get what we want to be with regards to wireless. That's a major thing, and again, Jason will be here at our next meeting to answer any other questions you might have. Infinite Campus, we've been going through, the end of the semester at the high school, and I think that the high school has done a wonderful job in terms of getting their grades in and being prepared and really, really working their way through it. I think that what we've done in the course of 6 months is accomplished most often over the course of a year in districts. So my hat's off to the high school teachers and middle school teachers and the elementary school teachers for all their hard work. We have done some training. Learn with Stern, I think that Andrea had mentioned to you last time that she had that ongoing, and so Learn with Stern is still active. Some training at LMS and CHS occurred on January 7th and 8th, and LMS and CHS on 7th and 8th, and GMS also on the 8th. And I think everybody's aware that grades and assignments will not be accessible in the portal during the following times, and it's slightly changed from what I'd initially stated. LMS Wednesday, January 27th at 4 o'clock until Wednesday, February 3rd at 8 o'clock a.m., and that's all been sent out by Blackboard to all of our parents. Everybody's aware of this. CHS, January 15th at 4 till January 29th at 8. And the window for CHS is longer since it's the first time that the grades are officially closing. And we need this also for GPA and class ranks. I would also like to make the following public statement, and that is that although we have a 2-week expectation, we do understand that when larger assignments such as long-term essays or end-of-semester major assignments are turned in, that we have to be somewhat flexible in allowing teachers some more time to grade them appropriately. And I think that has been our stance from the beginning, but I just want to publicly reiterate the fact that we clearly understand that our professionals may need additional time for large assignments, and so the 2-week window is just a suggested window for the vast majority of things. So, student grades, just to reiterate, student grades and assignments will not be visible in the portal starting on Friday, January 15th at 4 o'clock, and will become visible again on Friday, January 29th at 8 o'clock. Teachers will be posting final grades and ensuring that calculation of final semester grades are accurate. So, again, I think a lot of credit, and I'm reiterating, this is my 3rd time, to Andrea and to the faculties at the various schools for all their hard work. Thank you very much. And Andrea, again, will be with us to answer more detailed questions way beyond my competency.
Excellent, thank you. All right, bring us to committee reports, Budget Committee. As you'll see momentarily here, we'll be going through as far as the default budget calculations and...
Skipped over enrollment.
What's that?
You skipped over enrollment. Did I not put it there?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is up above, enrollment.
Enrollment, in essence, is uneventful. Again, there is some noting of teachers that have been migrating out or into the district, but overall enrollment is still somewhat uneventful.
Teachers.
Students, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I say teachers?
You did.
My apologies, my apologies. No comment. I could get a little bit cute about it, but I dare not in front of the public. Students that have been migrating in and out of the district are noted in this report for you. And again, just to reiterate, our first grade enrollment is still very strong, and we're still looking at 4 teachers for the first grade. And we don't have our final numbers, but I know Scott is going to be doing that, and we should have those numbers within the next 3-4 weeks.
GMS, I believe, had the biggest movement on increase, didn't it?
Yes. I don't have the,
You know, like 4?
It's pretty consistent.
yeah, but it's, I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with
I think
that.
last year we had like a net influx of like 10 to 15 over the year. It looks like
Yeah.
we're on the same track.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting, the majority of emigration out of the district was really out of town. And then you had some emigration to specific private public schools. But the majority of it was out of town. So it still, I think, bodes well for the Litchfield Public Schools in terms of parents are still selecting to send their children to what I consider to be one of the best school districts in the state.
Thank you. Now I'll bring us to committee reports. As I started to state, the Budget Committee finalized their voting and cuts to the school budget, along with the votes on the warrant articles, which we'll be coming up to in a few moments. And if my numbers are correct, the Budget Committee cut approximately $535,749, if that number's correct, off of the school budget. And as to say, I did not vote in favor of the budget as last year. I feel strongly that the school administration who puts the budgets together know a lot better of what their needs are and what the children's needs are in schools, far better than the Budget Committee knows what is needed. So that's why we put the budget together. Unfortunately, they cut it. And the same with the warrant articles. So that will bring us to the 17 Budget Committee recommendation budget.
I do want to recognize, Mr. Chair, my able assistant, who we both keep each other with a good sense of humor throughout budget season, prepared for the board, prepared for me, and I want to share it with you. It is in your packet. It's a memorandum from Michelle, who was my assistant. Just kind of a quick overview of where we ended up with the 2017 budget. And again, I won't go through line by line, but it gives a breakdown of where we're at with the finalized budget as recommended will be recommended at deliberative session by the budget committee. And the difference, as you can see, between the default and the recommended budget, operating budget, as well as the warrant articles. So kudos to Michelle for putting this together, a snapshot of where we're at today. In your packet, the first thing you have, I did provide you with a copy of the MS-27, which is actually a report filed by RSA, is responsibility of the budget committee, but the school district, we put that together for the budget committee. They will be coming in to sign this. The MS-27 is complete. I've given you a copy of it for your records, as well as we called it the MS-27 calculation, which is my worksheet to provide you with a line by line as by function code, what the budget that was recommended by the school board and what ultimately was approved by the budget committee for their recommendation to the voters at deliberative session. You also have the default budget, which was previously voted on by the school board. It's the 2016 MSDS, and that will be coming around for school board signature, as was voted on before. The default budget for the school district is $21,390,321. This simply requires, there's no vote required on this, Mr. Chair, as it's been previously approved by the board, the default budget number. It just simply needs the school board signature on that.
Can we go back to the budget committee budget for a second?
Yep, sure.
Oh, hold on, when I lost it.
How many of these do we have to sign, Frank? All of them?
Please.
3?
Did you do more than one copy?
Yes.
I always tell Michelle one copy, Mr. Chair. She likes 3, and you know how that goes, so you need to sign
I
on
would
to it.
appreciate it.
So it looks like the budget committee budget that they approved is only $55,000 higher than the current year's budget. Is that accurate?
Over the default.
Oh, the default budget?
Default budget.
Okay. I was looking at it.
It is marginally ahead, I think it's 100 and, just had that number here. But it's $55,000. Michelle has it on her report, the
Oh, I see it, 2016.
55,449 variance between the default and the recommended budget committee.
Okay, but year over year, oh, is this the bottom number? Year over year, it's 400,000 higher?
Right.
Okay. Which basically covers increases in salaries, increases in benefits, and I think transportation. Almost, a little less than that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's basically flat.
Right.
Okay.
But you'll also see, and not to get too complex, but you'll see right now the projection for year end for salaries and benefits, we're a little under budget. So we should be able to pick that up next year.
All right.
And that's been the argument of the budget committee, you always underspend benefits, salaries and benefits. Not that I agree with it, but it's the reality of what happens.
Yeah.
If there's no further questions, Mr. Chair, I can move on to the warrant articles. We will need some votes on the warrant articles. There were a few subtle changes, but I will point out the changes to the board. Warrant Article 1, the only change there, we did include same language as first review. The only thing different in Article 1 is estimated tax impact. My tax impact came out to $1.03 per thousand. The Budget Committee was $1.02 per thousand. I think it may have been a rounding error, but we'll use the 103. Article 2, again, that is the same as well, with the exception of, again, the tax impact. It is 5 cents per thousand on the tax impact for warrant Article 2. Warrant Article 3.
How many do we have to do?
You only have to sign 3.
Warrant Article 3, there is no tax impact because the recommended amount, $100,000 to be transferred to the capital reserve fund, would come out of the end of fiscal year 2016 unreserved fund balance. Warrant Article 4, again, zero tax impact. We did add the fund balance that was recommended by the Budget Committee, and I thought we did it last year, but we didn't have a warrant article for the capital reserve fund. We did it 2 years ago. We did add a footnote to Article 4, identifying the balance of that particular fund. The Special Education Capital Reserve Fund, as you can see, has a balance as of June 30th, 2015 of $103,953.77. We did eliminate some language from Article 4 and from Article 5. Your previous draft had, in that warrant article for 4 and 5, to designate the board as agent to expend the capital reserve. We took that out because that is only necessary for establishment of a capital reserve fund. You already have the authority. You are already agent for those funds. So we made that change to Article 4 and 5, and again, we included both 4 and 5, the fund balance as of June 30th for both of those funds. And again, there's no tax impact on that 4 and 5 as well, because that will, those monies would be transferred from the unassigned fund balance.
So we need to vote on each one of these, correct?
Need to recommend, correct?
Yep.
Need a motion, or just do it? I can't remember. Either way, I'll make a motion to recommend Article 1.
Second.
Any conversation? Again, what I'll say is, what we're voting on is the Budget Committee's budget,
Yeah.
not the school.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I don't like it, but I'm gonna vote to recommend because it's higher than the default, so
Yeah.
it's still the lesser of two evils.
So I just want to, again, make it clear that what we're voting on is what ultimately is the Budget Committee's budget. We submit them a budget, they do what they want with it, and that's what they recommend. So their budget is, again, about $500,000 less than what the school board has recommended.
Yeah.
I withdraw my second.
Okay.
But we still have to vote either way.
Yeah.
We can vote against it.
Well, you made a motion
To
recommend
recommend,
it.
yes.
All right.
So
So if
a vote in
I,
favor would be in favor of the 21,445 versus the default of 21,390.
Right.
But you have to hold your nose and do it
all right,
because.
sorry, I'm, yeah. confused.
So the vote is to recommend the budget.
The 21,445,
Right.
770. Although it's not what we had hoped for,
Correct.
a stretch.
And we can, if there's certain things we feel that should be added back in, we make our case at deliberative.
We can try it for a little bit.
All right, so I'll second again.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Abstained? 0. So that passes 3-1, or recommended, should I say, 3-1-0. Article 2,
Make a motion to recommend Article 2.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of recommendation of Article 2?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained?
Excuse me.
Make a motion to recommend Article 3.
Second.
Any conversation? All those in favor of recommending Article 3?
Aye.
signify- Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0.
How much is left right now in the Building and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund? Do we know, Frank?
Yeah, it's 5873.49.
58?
50,000.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been 50,000, principal's been 50 for a while, and
Okay.
the 873 is accumulated, yeah.
Did we use it a couple years ago to do LMS?
Yeah.
And then we
Fire alarm.
Fire alarm. Yeah.
we put the money back in last
Right,
year?
Yep.
Okay.
Where it was recommended at that time, and Frank agreed with the budget committee, that the way we should have done it is use
End of year fund,
funds, correct, rather than using the emergency, which we could have done. Which going forward, that's what we'll do, is use unassigned funds first, then go for the emergency. But
I
we'll-
remember we talked about this. Is there a reason we put the sped one before the maintenance one? Just we think that one's more important?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I don't believe, I think we just put it out there, and
Yeah.
we kind of talked about it as, I think you spoke about it as a board, but I don't think we ever decided what order. And again, it's,
Because the order's important.
it is important because they will be funded, the unassigned fund balance will be funded in according to the order of the, in the full amount as well, in the order of the warrant article. So if for instance, we only had $150,000, Article 3 would be fully funded to the 100,000 if approved, and Article 4 only 50,000, and then Article 5 would not be funded at all. Again, it goes in order of priority, the way the articles are listed in order.
But I think if you look at that too, at Article 4, there's at least a fund balance right now, and Article 5, there's at least a fund balance right now.
Yeah, so
With the
I agree
others-
with Article 3 being first. I guess my question would be, should we flip 4 and 5? How much do we have in this, the
103.
103 versus 58?
953, yeah, almost twice as much. A little more, actually, twice.
Uh,
Frank, on the boilers in the CHS now, do we have any understanding or a better definition of what we're looking at in terms of magnitude of expenses?
I can give you right now it's a guesstimate because we're still waiting on insurance company. We've got 3 different approaches to repair. It is gonna be somewhere in the high range of around $50,000 to $60,000. Low range could be much less than that if in fact we take one of the other variations to repair, I'll say. But we're still gathering that data. We should know by the end of this month, because we're looking at still to fix the boiler, the winter break, winter recess.
Right. And any insurance money would be prorated based on the age of
Based on the age, and it's
of
16
the
years.
equipment.
Right.
So it probably wouldn't be a very healthy chunk of money.
We're not planning on it. Plus, we are required, and the insurer has already stated so, that, we need to move forward with the repairs even prior to us reaching a settlement with them, so that we don't in any way further damage the system.
I know the board's aware of that, I just wanted to
Right.
point it out
Right.
again in case
Yep.
you're
So we
looking at
could
this.
spend some of that money down, is what I guess what probably what you're getting at.
Even with fund
Right.
balance, we could be at the point we might have to spend
Possibly.
some of that,
Right.
and then.
It could get tight.
And the other point is, last year, the fund balance was predominantly due to special ed monies, and we'd have to consider how the board wanted to respond to that.
Right.
I guess my general feeling here is, A, this was a little bit less, so if we moved it up, the chances of us fully funding 3, fully funding 4, and then fully funding 5 would probably be better than if you have the 2 expensive ones up top. And given the age, we already have a healthy balance in the special ed reserve fund. Given the age of some of our assets, it maybe makes sense to move that one up. Also, that one's recommended 8-0 by the budget committee versus the other one not recommended, maybe having that one up higher just
The
from
budget
a.
committee actually wanted us to be like number 1 or number 2, should I say. That's the one place that should move it up there.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the Budget Committee said just that.
Oh, did they?
That the special ed capital reserve hasn't been touched in quite some time. By comparison, there's a good chance that the building capital reserve fund may be touched at the end of this year,
So
or
can we-
soon down the road.
Do we still have enough time that we can change these?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make-
you can change them right up to deliberative session.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to swap those two and make the building maintenance capital reserve fund Article 4
Mhm.
and the special ed reserve fund Article 5.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of moving the articles?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain.
Do we have to re-vote it? Which one do we vote on?
We have-
4? Okay. Because
Who
the,
seconded that? Was it you?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to recommend the new Article 4, which is the building maintenance fund.
Second.
That's where we are, right?
Previously known as 5.
No,
Right.
we're on the old Article 4, but we'll go back to which is now the
Okay.
new Article 5.
Right.
I'm not recording that in minutes, sorry.
I got it.
Thank God we don't have 17.
Yes.
Yes. So we're voting
Imagine
on,
ordering those.
Oh.
you're recommending Article 5.
I'm
which is
recommending the new
building
Article
maintenance.
4, which is the building
Maintenance.
maintenance capital reserve fund for $50,000.
And I had seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, now we'll go to new Article 5, which is the old Article 4.
I'll make a motion to recommend the new Article 5 for the
Second.
sped fund for $100,000.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0.
What I would do is, I have the signature sheets here, and I made a separate signature sheet for the warrant articles. This way I can edit
Okay.
according to your votes.
Chair, this is your last meeting. We are required to have the budgets posted and the warrant articles posted by the 23rd.
Fifth, I think, but
But you
we'll
will
have
not
them
be
posted
meeting.
Friday.
Yeah, right,
We'll have
right.
those.
When is deliberative again?
I'm sorry?
When is
Sixth.
deliberative?
The sixth.
Sixth, first Saturday in February. Saturday, Super Bowl weekend.
That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
Yeah. Patriots and Carolina.
That takes care of the budget and the warrants.
I agree.
What do I know?
So that's gonna bring us to policies. So Michelle, I read through these that you sent from different schools, and it seems like they didn't really change anything, from what I could read.
Oh, I forgot to actually give you guys handouts. Wait a minute.
Seems like they just,
Extras over here. That was
seems like
my
they just
fault.
adopted the policies and,
I'm sorry.
it's all
I
right.
think Janine already has.
Do you want,
This is what we drafted, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
do you want to quick,
That slipped my mind.
to send those back? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the concern that the legislative change is the specifically RSA 189:68 no school shall record in any way a school classroom for any purpose without school board approval after a public hearing and without written consent of the teacher and the parent or legal guardian of each affected student. And that came about August 1st, 2015, because of the concern on the part of one of the sponsor that the district would be recording classrooms for the purpose of evaluating teachers without informing teachers and the parents as to what the purpose was. And so this was his attempt to try to stop any practice that would be involving evaluation of teachers through unknown recording of classroom activities. However, because it's such a broad statement, it meant that no recording of any classroom for any purpose could be done without having a public hearing and written consent of the teacher and parent or legal of each affected student. The legislator who made this law change has introduced into the legislature this year a modification of this law, which would make it very clear that if we wanted to do videotaping for teaching purposes, or if we wanted to do videotaping of children in classrooms, that we could do that. But his major concern was that we were going to use that videotape for the purpose of actually evaluating teachers. So it will change once the legislation is through this year. As a position for the remainder of the year, I think what the board might be wise to do would be to adopt something along the lines of other communities' policies. You have some copies of those, and then a potential policy code for your approval. And then the one thing that you would have to perhaps add to this policy might be a specific statement regarding public hearings. I mean, I think that's the one thing we might have to add to it. Again, you're prohibited from recording without board approval and written consent. We are. It's a school classroom. It does not limit recording of school-sponsored events, sports, and things like that. And you have to have written consent from teacher and parent or legal guardians for each child that you have in the classroom. So, again, what I would recommend is you perhaps review the other policies from other districts, and the policy that we put out here for you for consideration for Litchfield has been vetted not by our council, but by council, and we certainly would have council vet any policy would bring to you, and I believe it's a 4-step process to finalize policy, what I understand.
Yeah. Well, we also have in that policy, in one of the towns I read, that it's a one-time signing, so once you sign it, you can be videotaped, then you're all set. Will we do that like the beginning of the year, as we do like photographing students?
We do, at the beginning of the year, we do send out documentations. I think what the concern was that the written consent of the legal guardian are effective, so you couldn't do it by any other means except by a specific written consent for that. But we do that, I'm sorry, it's just jumping out of my head right now what we call that. But there is a specific terminology, we do that, yeah, at the beginning of each year, but.
Do we have to have a hearing for every instance, though?
Yeah, oh, no, the way it's been interpreted is once a parent signs this off, it would be a sign-off for additional video recordings that you might do in that classroom, yes,
So does each teacher need to have a hearing?
yes. That's my understanding of it.
So like, here's an example, and Brian, you might actually remember this. My son's first grade teacher, at the end of the year, had this project where each student read a story that they wrote and videotaped it, and part of the presentation was the student got up there and like went to the smart board, used the smart board to show the video of themselves reading the story, and like everyone's parents were there and watching and clapping and stuff like that. Would we have to have a hearing so that
I think you
teacher
could
can do
have
that?
a hearing, I think you could have a hearing, we'd have to get legal counsel's opinion on that, but I believe you can have a hearing at once a year, but then you would have to secure individual parent written permission for
Okay.
each of the videotaping.
What about something like
And then we'd have to come to the board.
graduation? We record graduation. Do we need to have a hearing to record the graduation and get every single
This is
student?
just classroom.
Okay.
So the tricky part comes around to, let's just say you have a room that you use for kids, let's just say for two, this room.
Yeah,
We might use a room for two, is this a classroom or not? And could you videotape in this classroom?
it's cameras.
Well, yeah, but this is not a classroom when
Yeah.
we're here, so clearly it doesn't fall into that ballpark. But
Okay.
if you had 3 or 4, 5 students and a teacher in this room, would that be a classroom or not?
Okay.
Or if you, for special ed and IEP and 504 regulations, many times you're requested to do videotapes of things,
Yeah.
and we clearly believe that's permissible, and the legislation clearly, by the historical documentation of testimony, believes that's permissible. But the way it was written, there's a little bit of a cloud.
You need to have a hearing, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you still have to get approval and still have to
Yeah.
get
Or I
signatures.
wonder, do we like, for like public speaking classes, do we ever record it so the student can analyze their own performance or anything like that? You guys know? Jill, you teach public speaking, right?
I don't, I teach acting.
Oh, I thought you did public speaking too. No.
I believe there have been instances in the past where you might record yourself.
So you can like evaluate how well you did and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, we've had critical friends groups in school
Yeah.
for professional reflective purposes. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a group of teacher friends, and I'll videotape my classroom and my lessons, and then we'll watch it together so we can improve each other's work.
So that would have to have a hearing for that, right?
But that would be having to have a hearing, have to have permission from every student in those classrooms. And I think the intent of the law was not to put a block on that kind of activity, but the actual language of the law has to be changed before the intent of the law can be fully realized.
All right.
Again, the intent of the law was not to videotape teachers for the purpose of evaluation, without teachers and students being fully aware of what you were doing. But the language of the law was way too broad. Everybody recognized the minute it was signed.
But they passed it anyway.
Well, I didn't say, let me take that back, and I gotta be careful here. The legislature didn't quite understand the full implication of the law, but the educational community was pretty aware of that. I think that's as nice as I can say it.
I'm sure they were made aware, they just didn't care.
You think?
Yeah.
I do too.
Not too bad Frank left, he was here earlier.
Yeah, we could have given him a real good time.
Yeah.
How did he vote, do we know? Let's look it up.
Let's look it up. Google does have its right.
So, yeah, so if you didn't have an opportunity to take a look at what Michelle sent for this policy, which we'll definitely need to put ours into effect. But just look through it, and there's not much changes, like I said, from town to town. You look at it, it's basically what the law is, I mean, is what their policy is. And this one seems to be about the same also, from Summersworth.
Which one was it, Michelle, that actually had that one sentence, that one paragraph?
Summersworth.
Summersworth, and what was, we highlighted
I
this, right?
highlighted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, Summersworth, the second paragraph down, is the one thing that we weren't clear whether the board would want to have that inserted into its policy. Other than that, I think that the policy that Michelle gave you as a draft policy for Litchfield would serve our purposes, and we can run
Yeah.
that by council and make sure.
So what Summersworth did is they inserted that into their video surveillance policy.
That's correct.
Which, that's a different policy than this.
Right.
Surveillance would be the district
That's
property.
correct.
Yep.
And this is classroom. So they may have to revise.
Well, they may have
the
surveillance in each one of their classes also.
They could, they
Yeah.
could.
Because that's different from what the statute is saying. The statute is saying something else. No school shall record in any way a school classroom.
Correct.
Right.
Right, but this is saying recording equipment will be placed in classrooms only after school board approval following a public hearing. So it's really not talking about the same
Yeah.
thing at all.
I don't
Yep.
think so.
But that was the only difference that we saw in, real essence of the policy. So certainly, my understanding is this is kind of a working session, and the next session would be potentially another working session. Then you'd have an open hearing, and then the second hearing would be when you would adopt it. Is that,
Yep.
okay?
All right. That'll bring us to policies required by law list.
Michelle has forwarded these to the New Hampshire School Board Association, and what have you heard so far,
I
Michelle?
have not yet. He's going to be working on that this week. I asked him particularly to.
Him being,
Barrett Christina.
thank you.
I'm sorry. I asked for Barrett to particularly go over our older policies that are required by law that we have already approved, that have already been approved in the past, and see if anything's changed. If we have to, revise them, then those will be, we'll put them all together and the board can revise them as one, one nice work session. And hopefully, I don't think too many have changed. I've been doing some research myself, but there are some that we don't have, that we should have, and we have drafts for that kind of fell by the wayside, so.
So you pull out all the older ones, Michelle?
I pulled out, as required by law,
Yep.
I pulled out all the older ones for now. And the regular list we have, I will pull out. I've already researched most of those,
Okay.
and none of those have changed much. I mean, a couple of little words here and there, but nothing. And I'll make a report on that for you as I go through them.
Well, there are far fewer required by law than we have, aren't there?
Some are required by law, some are mandatory, and some are, what's the other word they use? It's another word they use. I forget what it is, priority or something like that.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
And just for the record, Barrett Christina's role is,
He's a legal
Policy.
counsel for NHSBA.
Yep.
thank you.
Met him at a seminar Derek and I were at.
So I think in summary, where we are is we're awaiting NHSBA's legal counsel report. Hopefully, we'll have that for our next board meeting, and then we can prioritize policies that are either missing and mandated, or policies that are present but need updating, and have that for you, and then we can just calendar out maybe a couple of policies, depending on how many the board wants to get into at the same time. We could do one or two new policies at each board meeting, and then just have, the different steps in it.
Yep.
In talking to the administrators, there was also a sense that the board had reviewed policies in 2005 or 6, no, beyond that, 7 or 8, but I'm not sure of exactly what it was. It's excuse me, I think about 2008, 2009, actually, but I don't have a clear record of that, and I'm not sure you do.
Which policy is that?
Just the overall policy book.
When the former superintendent, Dr. Cutler, was here, we did a policy review, a revision cycle, and Dr. Cutler and I went over the policies according to school approvals and what was mandated by law, and we did revise several policies. There were a lot that were not needed to be revised, so the board kind of let us do the research, and if nothing had to be brought forward, then they left them the way they were.
Thank you.
So we're just going to wait word from our attorney on that.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions on the manifest? That'll bring us to public input. No? Right. And that'll bring us to non-public. Non-public, RSA 91-A, semicolon 311, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee with the investigation of any charges against him, unless the employee affected, one, has the right to a meeting, and two, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. B, the hiring of any person or public employees. C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body of the agency itself, unless such person requests an open meeting.
So made.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Tom?
That was fast. 6:47.
That's a record.
I think that's an all-time
Really
record. But I know it can be broken, Mr. Chair.